Hey everybody, Chris Joslin here at the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum in Owensboro, Kentucky. And I'm visiting with one of my Nashville friends today, Billy Montana. Billy's going to be here on May the 11th in Owensboro on our outdoor stage for the spring version of the Nashville Songwriter. This is the Hitmakers version. Billy,
Chris, we are looking
welcome.
forward to making the trip over to Owensboro.
Well, they say in Nashville, Billy, it all begins with a song. Well, that's true everywhere. That's true here. So, there's great songwriters behind these wonderful songs. And that's why we wanted to invite you and some of your friends to talk about the process a little bit, but sing some of the songs that we've all heard and loved. And just to learn a little more, who wrote that song? How did that come about? What was the process? Tell us a little bit about what folks can expect when they come here on the 11th, because not everybody here in Owensboro, this region, have been to the Bluebird or been to a writer's round. What does that look
Right.
like?
Absolutely. Honestly, completely biased, but they're really my favorite shows. And I think it's because of the intimacy they provide, kind of a peek behind the curtain, a story to accompany a song, that's been a hit on the radio for somebody else. And so I think the crowd really enjoys getting the backstory. Like, okay, that's something I listen to, but where did it come from? And so we'll be able to do some of that. I'm coming up with a couple of my closest friends and co-writers, Steve Dean and Bobby Tomerlin. And man, they've written just some monster hits. Bobby wrote One More Day for Diamond Rio.
Yeah,
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, just kind of like has sung into people's lives, for several years. And Steve, probably his biggest hit is Watching You, Rodney Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
And that song was actually Song of the Decade between 2007 2017. There was a particular chart that came into being in 2007, and that song was the most played song over that 10-year period. So yeah, we're gonna talk about songs like that, and there's the catalog goes deep, so
Yeah.
we'll have a fun evening.
So when I've been to a writer's round, typically it's not like a rock and roll concert. You got three guys on stools with acoustic guitars taking turns singing their
Yep,
song, giving you a little bit of the backstory,
exactly.
how it came about. Sometimes you might even have a story about an interaction with an artist. I mean, for some of these folks, I mean, you've written songs that have really kind of launched or solidified a career for some of these artists. And some people may think, hey, I heard an artist sing a song on the radio. They may assume that artist writes all their songs. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But oftentimes it's people like you in writing sessions coming up with these great lyrics that these talented artists bring to life. Do you have a story? I mean, I know you've worked with some really killer artists there in Nashville through the years.
Yeah, I've got tons of stories, but a couple of my favorites. One is I wrote a song called "Suds in the Bucket," probably my biggest hit. But we actually set out to write that song. So in Nashville, we get a thing called a tip sheet or a pitch sheet that lets the record companies want the publishing and songwriting community to know what's going on in the studio, what their artists are doing, so that they can get cream of the crop songs. And it helps us like direct, it kind of steers us in a direction of what an artist might be wanting to record. So this particular week, there were on the tip sheet, it said Leanne Womack was looking for an up-tempo traditional sounding country song. And so my co-writer Jagoe and I decided, hey, let's write something for that. And we had this concept of a girl leaving home quickly. Well, how can we say that in a way that's never been said before? And so we wrote this song for thinking Leanne Womack in the back of our heads. And we worked the music out. And right when it got to where the hook of the song was going to be, I said, hey, how about she left the suds in the bucket and the clothes hanging out on the line? And Jagoe was like, where did that come from? And I was like, divine intervention, I think. And
Are you telling me
So,
God appreciates a well-written country song too?
I mean, I think he's in every room, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I mean, Janai she was just like, we are writing that
Yeah.
today, unquestionably. And so we wrote the song and pitched it to Leanne Womack's people, and they kind of pitched it back at us because they didn't think it was right for her. But my publisher didn't give up on it, took it to Sarah Evans' people,
Mhm.
and they loved it. Played it for Sarah, she loved it, ended up recording it and having a big hit with it.
Rest is history,
The
isn't
rest
it?
is
Yeah.
history. Yeah, there we go.
Well, I can't wait because I know you and Bobby Tomberlin and Steve Dean are good friends, and so and you guys have written a lot together. So I can't wait just to see the chemistry, how you guys interact, and the stories that will come from that. To me, it's just fascinating because it truly does all begin with the song, and sometimes you have to go back to the genesis of an idea
Mm-hmm.
to really understand its journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be just great to see you guys up here unpacking that with just a fun night. So tickets are just $20, and you can get those at bluegrasshall.org online, or if you're local, you can just pop in here at the Hall of Fame anytime, and they'll fix you up at the box office, or come at the last minute. We'll sell you a ticket right there at the gate. But we're going to do it under the stars on the outdoor stage. It's going to be perfect. In fact, we've already ordered perfect weather, so I know it's going to be a nice night.
I'm glad you got your dibs in early. That's the
Uh,
way it should be.
well, and Billy is a great artist in his own right, a wonderful musician, a guitarist, and a harp player. So it's going to be a fun night, making a joyful noise. And Billy, we can't wait to have you and Bobby and Steve up here in Owensboro. Can't wait.
Well, they are honestly some of my favorite shows. When I was 11 years old, Chris, I looked it up because I was like, how long ago did I see this concert? My mother took me to my first concert ever, and it was the Carpenters. And opening up for them was Mac Davis sitting on a stool with his guitar and a bunch of stories. And he had 17,000 people eating out of the palm of his hand. And I think that made such an impression on me. And so I'm not so sure that that's not part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, but the show on the 11th it's going to be like that, where you're just kind of, we'll all basically be sitting in a living room and having a conversation with each other and with the audience. So
yeah.
I really hope to see a good crowd out there.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun night. May the 11th is the Nashville Songwriter Hitmakers edition featuring Billy Montana, Bobby Tomberlin, and Steve Dean. Billy, thank you so much. We'll see you right here on May the 11th, and get your tickets at bluegrasshall.org or come down to the box office downtown here in Owensboro. Billy, we'll see you on May the 11th.
Sounds perfect, Chris. See you then.